Dear Eamon, dear Katie, welcome to Katowice. We are very happy to have you here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to be here.
And thank you for accepting this maybe not obvious invitation for this conversation, which maybe are not used to do daily, not about music, not about artistic life. All of these things will be tonight at the concert which you have in Katowice. But I invited you to share some experiences about sustainable development in culture. We all, as artists or the organizers, do some activities nowadays which are very popular to implement some eco solutions in our activity. And I would love to know a little more about your activity as the 16 and your own as an artist in Britain. How it looks now there in UK is also such a very important and popular topic, eco solutions, carbon footprint, sustainable development.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I think all of the ensembles across the board in the UK are looking at now, and have been for some time. And I think people are talking to each other to share ideas, as we're doing now. Some groups are experimenting with different types of travel, which we'll come on to, I'm sure. But it's something that I think is at the forefront of an awful lot of groups planning.
Thank you, Katie. Do you have some experiences as an artistic, as an artist, as also the member of the choir? Do you implement any solutions in the 16 which helps the environment to survive?
Yes, well, we all now carry our things like we don't use disposable cups or bottles anymore. We have our own, and we have to take them to each venue and ask venues to provide either wash-upable or reusable cutlery and things like that. So there's none of the waste that used to happen, which we didn't think about 10 years ago. Now that's very much a policy. Also travel-wise, which I'm sure we'll get onto, but we're all encouraged to take the train and to cycle or any means of transport that doesn't involve the car. And when we do use the car, we try and car share. And we've now got a hybrid car, which helps. And that sort of, just having this sort of mentality is making everybody, I think, make individual choices wherever they can to minimise our carbon footprint and help.
And what is your opinion? Does this mentality really changing, and the artists really are okay to implement?
I think everybody's on board with trying to make it as be as eco-friendly in general as possible. And I think little tweaks we all individually make feed into a bigger picture. And I think that desire to make these moves does filter through. And we need big decisions from the top to make big changes. But hopefully the little things we all do as individuals and as organisations do spread waves and feed into this movement that there is, obviously led by you as well, this desire for change and the move in the right direction.
I think that's a really important point, that as individuals, there's so much we can do. There's small gestures, in a sense, this idea of car sharing. But actually, if you think of the number of concerts that one does over the course of a season, if you've got 3 or 4 people in a car, that actually adds up over the course of a year, and then over the course of a number of years. You can feel that there is actually something substantial, albeit on a small scale, that one is actually achieving. And I think that is important, because it's possible to think that we're a very small, tiny, insignificant contributor to the carbon footprint, but actually it's incumbent upon all of us to make an effort and to do what we can.
Yeah, thank you. And the 16 exists already 40 years, as I...
More than 40 years, yeah.
But I suppose that only last few years are this time when you really have to think about these climate changes. And do you have in the 16 some official code of conduct or something which you agreed in the group as a path of the way you act to the climate and the environment activity?
I think there is a policy. It's something that we, as Katie said, we're all sort of agreed that we're committed to, and to try and ensure that our own contributions are there. as a group, we're looking at various options and experimenting because, of course, one doesn't know what's going to work. But over the last couple of seasons, one of the changes that we've been experimenting with is to have concerts earlier in the day in order that the performers can use public transport, trains, primarily to get home after the concerts, whereas if it's a late finish, you can't necessarily take the train at that point. So it might be the case that we do a concert in one venue of an evening and then travel and do an earlier concert the next day in order to be able to travel back. How we group the concerts in terms of the geographical location of them, trying to keep them in a more condensed area. Obviously, they can't be too close because you need different audiences. But rather than driving from one side of the country to the other, it sounds like common sense, which of course it is. But again, these are all small steps that that one can take.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I think this is very inspirational examples, which might inspire some artists and organizers in Poland as well. Especially this moving the time of the concerts earlier to let the people, also the audience, come back home. What I noticed that sometimes audience don't participate in the concerts because they don't have possibility to come back home.
We recently did a concert in a place that was a 20-minute walk from the train station. And what I noticed and thought was brilliant was that the concert hall arranged a shuttle bus that would collect concert goers from the train station an hour before the concert and an hour after the concert. And that would have encouraged more people to come on the train. All the information was up when you booked your ticket. I just thought that was a great idea because it was good for performers too, but it was great for the audience to think, and also it was fewer cabs. It was just a great thing.
Audience, there's an audience participation element as well in this, and another thing that the 16 have been experimenting with is actually speaking to the audiences, and when they're booking their tickets, providing them with travel information and encouraging them where possible to take public transport, to consider the ecological ramifications of their travel plans. Which, if you've got an audience of 700 people coming or however many, that adds up. But I think it's a little and often approach probably that that we need to just keep reinforcing this. Another thing that we've tried is with regards to our programs. So then the programs are available online now. So they're available to download so people can read them on their phones. So we're reducing the amount of printing that we're using. All of our music, we still use paper music, but we have quite a substantial library, as you can imagine. So there's a lot of reusing of scores. We don't just print
every concert.
No, exactly. And this idea of reducing our sort of waste footprint, Katie's already mentioned about not using disposable cups or cutlery, anything like that. That's long gone. But you can see often after concerts that there is quite a lot of waste of paper and tickets and things like that. So tickets can be digital. And again, these are small things, but they add up over the course of a number of concerts and over seasons and then years. Small steps make the big difference, but in long term, Well, it's about what one can do, because as Katie rightly says, you need the big forces to make the big decisions. But one has to do what one can. And I think these solutions need some flexibility also on the side of the audience and some open-minded attitude, but also with the organizers who has to accept the idea of repeating the concert not too far away. What are your experiences in Britain? Do the organizers work together? They create maybe some network to help the artists travel and have concerts next to each other, but not too close, not too far? Or are there rather closed organizers and don't take care? They don't care about it. Well, I think that's a bit difficult for us to tell, because a lot of our work in the UK is our own promotion. So the big tour that we do annually is called the Choral Pilgrimage. So it's your own series, let's say. It's our own series, exactly that. So there's not so much in that sense of the possibility to see collaboration there. But I think we're entering a different stage now, aren't we? Or a different time where collaboration between promoters and festivals and artists is becoming more and more important. And I think I'd say there's maybe a little resistance to that initially, because people like to defend their territory, if you like, or their brand, shall we say. But I see, when I'm conducting abroad, certainly I'm seeing increasingly it's the case that organisations are thinking that they need to collaborate now, partly because of the financial situation that many people find themselves in, that there is less money around to support the arts, and you can achieve more when you collaborate. But I think from an ecological standpoint as well, of course it makes sense, and then you can defray the costs and cut down on the amount of actual travel required. If we're thinking of carbon footprints in terms of flights, so coming here for this, it's great that that we've managed to do a concert in Warsaw. So we were flying to Warsaw anyway. Now we've taken the train to Katowice, but we're here doing 2 concerts rather than just the one in Warsaw. And I think the more that people, as you say, promoters, agents and festivals start talking to each other and planning ahead, I think that's a definite way forward, and quite an easy win, hopefully.
Thank you for this example as well of your being here in Poland. I must admit that it was the idea of the festival in Warsaw also to find additional activity and to open their own brand. I mean the festival Euphonie, to collaborate with the festival Ars Cameralis, which hosts you tonight. So it's also the collaboration between 2 festivals, which I think is one of the first examples of this kind of collaboration, and I'm really happy about it. Of course, talking about carbon footprint and travel, in your case, you cannot avoid flying from Great Britain, which is obvious. But let's see, or let's take a look on some kind of support maybe you can get from any public grants in UK, if there are any, to travel to land part of Europe. Are there any? And does UK government support your activity to travel, but in the eco way?
Not that I know of. There's a general sense that money is scarce, particularly in the arts at the moment. I know that the desire is there from our side. It would be wonderful to have an eco-sponsor that would help support this kind of endeavour. Anyone out there? Great, do write in. But no, that is a trouble. The money is a problem. It's not, it costs money to get the train and takes time, and time is money. You have to pay artists for their time. I know there are some orchestras that really do try and get them in the OAE, do try and get the train everywhere, which is fabulous. It just does take an awful lot of time and effort and money, and the will is there. It's just working out how we can do that more and more. But certainly, I think at the moment, we get the train whenever we can and fly as little as possible. But, we just went to the States. Obviously, we had to fly to do that, and it was wonderful. But maybe just, cutting down and, like Damon was saying, making concerts more close together so that there are fewer trips but more substantial once you're there. I don't know.
But even within that States trip, I think, because I didn't go, but I think you took the...
We took the train when we could.
Train and bus travel
when we could,
it was intentional activities planned in advance to really take care about...
with that in mind, with the depressing thing was that all the hotels and the breakfasts were all on non-reusable plates, cutlery, everything was thrown away. It was really strange, but
this is a problem with touring. It is inherently not very ecologically friendly. It's the nature of the job. So just to reinforce the point that you're making, that this idea of collaboration, to be in one location, geographically somewhere quite close, and then make the most of that, I think this is a really important way to move forward. And I, like you, I'm very excited by the idea of there being a greater sense of collaboration between artists and promoters, festivals, and so on.
What I noticed is also that some ensembles decided not to tour too much, or they really cut their own tours to focus on the activity on their own area, or become to artists in residence or ensembles in residence of some festival, to focus on one audience for a longer time than to really go day by day to the another places. And I see that it's also your case that you, as the 16, host your own cycle, your own series in UK. But what is your attitude if you would be somehow forced to stop touring? What do you think? It's responsible, or there is a border you have to take?
I think it's a difficult line to tread, isn't it? Because can you imagine if the world didn't get to hear, the Berlin Philharmonic?
Yeah.
They can't. You can't just stay in the one place. I mean, they can, but what a shame it would be if we didn't have the Berlin Philharmonic at the BBC Proms each year or such like. I think it's a balance to strike. Mm-hmm. I think one could look at reducing the amount of touring, but I think that has happened to an extent anyway. Following the pandemic, I think there's been it feels to me like there's been less touring since then. Not massively, but to an extent. And these are certainly in the UK difficult times to be a musician, to be an artist, and as Katie's alluded to, there's money is tight. So being able to promote your own series at home on your own turf is certainly a way forward, and the 16 have been brilliant making that happen. It's a well-established series now. It's been going for some 24 years, this choral pilgrimage, and it's gone from strength to strength. Really, and it is the backbone of our year each year at these concerts, and that's helped develop our audience within the UK as well. But we know that when we go to Spain or come to Poland, there's a great appetite for audiences want to hear us live. So it's important that we still make those trips, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We need you as well here. So we are very happy to have you finally in Poland again after many years, as we counted yesterday. But having you as a people from UK, and I wanted to ask you how Brexit influenced your professional life, because from our perspective, we all miss you in European Union, I think. But do you see any problems which influence your artist life after the Brexit?
Touring definitely slowed down. I don't know exactly how much was to do with... I mean, I know Brexit made things really tricky, didn't it, with visas and... But and then there was the pandemic, and then it's just been a stream of things that have been very unhelpful to that whole ecosystem, and I don't feel like it's recovered yet.
Yeah.
I think that's right. If we'd been able to see Brexit just on its own terms, we'd probably have a clearer picture on that. But the pandemic coming quite soon after that, and then there's a lot of talk about the cost of living crisis in the UK at the moment, everything becoming very expensive. They've all fed into almost creating like a perfect storm almost. It feels like that. We don't want to be overly negative, but being realistic, it's tough there at the moment. And I think it's the flip side of that is that it's really important that we stay positive and that we keep performing, and that we will come out the other side of it, because we have to. There needs to be that determination and that belief that actually the tide will turn. And I think high quality art is valued, and we just need to keep fighting our corner for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. What I wanted to add in the very end, the cycle which we host, having this kind of discussions like today, is All'improvviso, which we do with our festival in Gliwice, All'improvviso. Our festival is a part of European Union project supporting early music young ensembles, and this new period of this project is dedicated to sustainable development, and to get nowadays any grants from public funds or European Union funds, we need to follow ecological solutions. We need to think about eco-transition. And what I wanted to ask you, because we're talking about it, that it's your mentality, it's your attitudes, but is there any national policy of culture thinking about eco solutions in UK which you has to follow as a ensemble, as an organization acting in culture sector?
I don't believe that there is one nationally, but it's something that we have voluntarily sort of signed up to, if you like. So the 16 are committed to trying to work on our contribution to this. One of the ways that we're doing this is by collating data from audiences about how they travel, about our travel within this, and helping us to form and structure our policy. You need that data and those numbers and the figures in order to be making informed decisions. So in terms of what we're doing, we're constantly collecting that information and then allowing that to inform the decisions that we make.
Okay, thank you. One of the most valuable thing which comes with the eco solutions is to have artists longer and longer in one place, in Poland, for example. So the most important effect is to create this relation between artists and the audience, and also relation between artists and the organizers. So I'm very happy that we created this kind of relation also today, and with the concert we had in Warsaw and tonight in Katowice, and we hope to have you back very soon to Poland again. So thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, and see you tonight. Thank you very much.